Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about the chakras. I'm going to be going through the 7 main chakras. There's lots more chakras than just the main 7, but in Western chakra philosophy, mostly it's just the main 7 that we talk about. So I'm going to be going through those to give foundational knowledge of each chakra so that you can become aware on which of your chakras may or may not be imbalanced, so that we can bring healing to these chakras and what a balanced chakra looks like and what emotions are associated with a balanced chakra, so that you guys can get into more alignment to being a balanced vessel. Because basically how chakras work, they're almost like a river stream. And this river stream can get convoluted with or polluted with like certain emotions or certain emotional baggage that we hold on to, certain traumas that affect us can be stored in the body. And when this happens, we almost dam up the river and the energy flow is pretty low, and then we get a lack of energy, or we get other physical symptoms or dis-ease in the body. So we're going to be talking about the related dis-eases with these certain chakras, why chakras work, what they are, the evidence of chakras existing, all that kind of jazz. This is the foundational knowledge of chakras, and of course there's much more to be known than this. The book where I get most of this information from is the complete book of chakras by Cindy Dale. I highly recommend checking this book out if you guys are interested in. I'm going to be going through kind of like the first small section of the book, basically, because there's so much more knowledge than just this. If you guys are interested in knowing more, I definitely highly recommend that book. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. So first things first, what are chakras? So chakras are basically known as energy centers in the body. They sort of are like vortexes that deal with and are associated with certain emotions. They're associated with certain feelings, certain thinking patterns, and they're also associated with certain organs and glands in the body. And so a little bit of a scientific background here. So basically, way back in the day, the ancients associated energy and emotion with certain parts of the body, and they knew that certain emotions and certain thinking patterns and certain behaviors were more resonant in certain parts of the body. So for example, things like being overly controlling in a certain way is associated with a certain part of the body and affects certain organs in the body. So every single emotion that we feel, and even science is proving this today, that our emotions do have a correlation to our well-being, and our emotions and our emotional level, our mental level, is associated with dis-ease or disease in the body. And so when certain organs aren't functioning properly, or we notice we're very prone to infections or flus or things like this, this has an absolute correlation to our mental and emotional state of being. And science is now just finally uncovering lots of this that the ancients used to actually talk about. So this is a very interesting topic to me, and I really love it. So the fact and proof that chakras exist, do they actually technically exist? Yes and no. No, because of the fact that we have not yet found some sort of technology to go and detect their actual presence. You don't go into an x-ray machine and see spinning vortexes in the body all over, because that would definitely be evidence that chakras existed, right? But we don't have that, unfortunately. So, but my personal proof that chakras absolutely do exist, based on my research behind chakras, is the fact that we do know certain thinking patterns, certain thoughts. Every single thought that you have has a vibration to it and a certain frequency to it. And then we know that certain parts of our body have certain resonant frequencies. Basically, a resonant frequency is when you have one frequency and a frequency of something else matches it. This is something that resonates, like a frequency that's very similar. And when you have two frequencies that are very similar coming together, it amplifies that specific frequency, and it begins to resonate. So essentially, certain thoughts that you have, certain emotions that you feel will have its own vibration. that vibration is associated and affects and resonates with different organs and different parts of the body. And these are categorized as chakras. And so the ancients would then realize the correlation between certain behaviors, thinking patterns, and emotions that then affected specific parts of the body, and they map this all out. And so this is why we have chakras. The main 7 that we're going to be talking about is the root, the sacral, solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown chakra. Those are the main 7 that we're going to be going through. Of course, there is much more than just this, but these are the main 7 that we're going to talk about. So this is my correlation to, yes, chakras do exist. No, there's no technical proof of their actual spinning vortex presence in the body, but yes, they exist, and lots of these things are now being proven in science, especially with the research that we're doing on emotions and their correlation to the body. Just for a quick example, when we're going through heartbreak, we tend to say, oh, they broke my heart or they hurt my heart. I just totally tapped my microphone there. Sorry, guys. And another thing, for example, when we're under stress or anxiety, we tend to feel bloated or indigestion, especially, I don't know if you've ever been around someone that makes you nervous. For example, if you have a really big crush on someone and you spend all day with them and you don't want your flatulence to like ruin the whole date party that you guys are having, sometimes the aftermath of that is being bloated or having indigestion or stuff like that. Or, you know, when you're nervous, all of a sudden your stomach starts making those gurgly noises in the middle of a test or something like that. And then, you know, of course, the solar plexus chakra is directly related to digestion, and that's the chakra that deals with our nervousness, our stress, our anxiety. That's the chakra that processes that the most, which is our digestion. It's how we digest what we're taking in from life. And the way that we digest what we're taking in from life, sometimes it's too much for us, and sometimes it causes, you know, some emotions that cause disruption in that part of the body. And we directly notice that. We directly feel those things. So, yes, these things are absolutely true. So I hope that's enough examples for you guys. I could go on endlessly about this, but let's hop right into the video without further ado. So let's hop into the first chakra. So the first chakra is the root chakra, known as the Muladhara. I'm sorry if my pronunciation is off on any of these. I'm not a professional pronouncer. The colors associated with this chakra is, the primary color is red, its secondary color is black. It is located at the very base of the spine. This is what roots us into the world. Its associated planet is Saturn because it rules our limits, our material world limits, because of course in the spiritual world, the limits are endless, but then in the material world, we have actual limits, and Saturn is the planet that rules that, and so is the root chakra. The primary element of this chakra is Earth, of course, because of its physical boundaries. And its associated endocrine gland is the adrenals. Also, the last thing before I forget, the associated sense is the sense of smell, which comes from the nose. So this chakra deals with our material world. This deals with our security in the world. It deals with the material things that are around us. It deals with our finances, our money, our sense of safety, and our feeling of belonging and worthiness in the world. So this belief system, a lot of people I notice have a major deficiency in their root chakra because of a sense of feeling unworthy without a purpose in this world is usually something that throws off this chakra quite a bit. So an underactive chakra, an underactive root chakra. The signs and symptoms of this is either being underweight, having depression, fear, anxiety, financial loss, the inability to gain enough resources. For example, meeting your basic needs is this chakra. So any basic needs that are met, if you have a lack of that, if you cannot feel like you can meet that, or you're just making ends meet, this is an underactive root chakra. This is also where we get a sense of spaciness, where we feel like we're disconnected, where we feel like we can't ground ourselves and focus, especially in conversation with other people, or if we're trying to learn something new. If we feel like we cannot ground ourselves and feel present in the moment, this is also an underactive root chakra. It's also associated with feeling unlovable and also having poor boundaries. And so when you're really bad at setting strict boundaries with people, especially if you just allow them to cross the line all of the time. This is from an underactive root chakra. An overactive root chakra deals with excessiveness. So this deals with the excess of food. So it's generally associated with being overweight. Any sort of eating disorders are present in the imbalances of the root chakra. This also deals with overindulgence, addiction issues, so addiction to substances, addictions to, you know, anything material in our world. This is definitely like material possessions, so hoarding, over excessive anything material. Fear of change, paranoia, laziness, fatigue, also having very rigid or very super strict boundaries is also an imbalance in the root chakra, because the underactive is, you know, having very loose, no boundaries at all. The overactive chakra is having such rigid boundaries that it becomes a problem. So a balanced root chakra is being able to set good boundaries, healthy boundaries, ones that are not excessive and ones that are not too free-flowing. This is also when we're at physical ease. We have a sense of security around us. We feel safe. We're able to go with the flow of change. We're able to go with the flow of reality and what reality brings us. This is also when we have a sense of financial ease. It deals with prosperity as well, being able to provide for yourself materially, being able to provide for your basic needs with ease, and that just comes naturally for you. Also being able to be grounded in reality with common sense. The related diseases with this chakra, so the aftermath of having an imbalanced chakra, can be certain eating disorders, overindulgence in certain things, any sort of bowel disorders. So this can be like constipation, hemorrhoids, any of the excretion areas, the excretion muscles, problems in that area. Since it is the lowest chakra, it also deals with the lower muscles. So this is any leg problems, knee problems, feet problems. There is other minor chakras in those areas as well that it could be also dealing with, but generally it is also associated with the root chakra. This is also disorders with the bones and like the teeth as well, for example, because it is ruled by Saturn, which is ruled by Capricorn, which deals and is associated with those, the bones in the body, like the structure, because again, Saturn is the material structure, and bones are very materialistic, and it also deals with skin problems, vein problems, large intestine, dealing with, again, those addiction issues to certain things, substance abuse. It can deal with sexual dysfunction and reproductive issues as well, but sexual dysfunction and reproductive issues is also a sacral chakra thing, which we will get into right now. So the second chakra is known as the sacral chakra, which is the Svadhisthana chakra. This chakra's primary color is orange. It's located about 2 to 3 inches below the belly button. This one, it is associated with the element of water. Its sensory organ is the tongue, which is taste. Its ruling planet is Pluto for its transformational qualities, and the glands associated with this chakra are the sexual organs, and so this is the ovaries or the testes. So the Svadhisthana chakra directly deals with our relationship with other people, our bond towards others, and since it directly deals with that, when we have an underactive second chakra, this deals with like very rigid belief systems, rigid about your body, very overprotective about your body, suppressing sexuality, suppressing your own creativity, as well as an underactive sacral chakra is when you are feeling like you need to repress sensuality, feeling less sensual, self-denial, fear of change, lack of social skills, desire, and creativity. This is also when we have social anxiety, when we disassociate from certain people. When we have an overactive Svadhisthana chakra, this is associated with addictions to sex, addictions to pleasure, overindulgence in pleasure. This is also overindulgence in craving or having addictions to carbs, carbohydrates, addictions to wine even. It is also associated with like substance addictions, but mostly towards carbohydrates or wine or things like that. It's also deals with being irresponsible, being overly emotional, being very codependent. This can also be having addictions to toxic relationships. Usually any sort of imbalance in the sacral chakra, you will notice yourself being attracted to or find yourself in a lot of toxic relationships where either people are either mistreating you by always asking too much of you, or you might notice yourself in a relationship with narcissists a lot. Any sort of imbalances here generally leads towards those types of things. This is also where we get manipulation, since it directly deals with other people. An overactive sacral chakra is usually when manipulation comes up as well. So we tend to manipulate other people in order to get what we want, that kind of stuff. When the sacral chakra is balanced, this is when we're able to express our sexuality and express our sensuality in a balanced way. And it doesn't mean that you have to be going out having sexual relationships. You can also have a balanced chakra with being completely abstinent, but it just means that you're not repressing your sensuality because you believe it's wrong. It's knowing that you are a sensual being and that you're able to express creatively, being able to express with passion, especially when you're talking, things like that. This is having a very balanced sacral chakra, is being able to feel and bond with other people. Since the sacral chakra deals with other people, this is bonding with others. This is also treating others fairly, treating others with honesty, treating others kindly, and also treating yourself kindly and having enough respect. This is like self-respect, especially when it comes to relationships outside of you. This also deals with our ability to feel satisfied, because of course with an overactive sacral chakra, we tend to be addicted to sensuality or pleasureful things. This is addictions to pleasure and needing pleasure constantly. So this can also be over shopping, overindulging, overspending your money, stuff like this, in order to feel good, is an overactive sacral chakra. And then the balance chakra, being able to have compassion, express yourself sexually, express yourself creatively, have enough motivation and desire to create and leave a footprint and your mark on this world. The related dis-ease associated to the Svadhisthana chakra is any reproductive issues. This is also any urinary issues as well. I do notice that in a lot of females that tend to have toxic relationships, and this goes for men as well, but for some reason it is just more common in females. So this is why I'm associating it with that. One of the most common things of a imbalanced sacral chakra is you'll notice that women usually get urinary infections, bladder infections, kidney infections, and things like that when they're in bad relationships or disrespecting themselves or feeling unworthy or staying in something toxic. Usually that'll show up as urinary problems in females or menstruation problems as well. So anything like endometriosis and stuff like that is an imbalanced sacral chakra that then develops the dis-ease of having reproductive organ issues. In men, this is associated with having reproductive issues like erectile dysfunction, impotency, anything to deal with the reproductive system, and anything also dealing with your association to other people. This also deals with the lower back, so if you have lower back pain, sciatica is a huge indicator of a sacral chakra issue. Joint problems, loss of sensual pleasure, also appendicitis, bowel movement issues as well, because it is associated with the intestines as well, so it does deal with the lower parts of your intestines. And then again, having addictions to carbohydrates. The next chakra is the solar plexus chakra, and this is known as Manipura. This is located right in the navel, right by the belly button. Its associated color is yellow. This is ruled by the sun, that is its planetary ruler. It's associated with the element of fire, of course, because of its association with the sun. The reason why they've associated it with the element of fire is because the burn in the belly of the digestive organs to, you know, technically like burn and digest the food through the fire in the belly to then create energy through the digestion of food and the things that we put in our body. Its associated sense is with the eyes, with the sight, and the gland associated with it is the pancreas. So this chakra deals with our expression into the world, our expression of creativity. It gets blocked by things like anxiety and stress and things like that. It also deals with our balance between masculinity and femininity as well. This is where we ground our ideas and concepts into the material world. It is technically the last material world, physical world chakra before we get to the heart, which is the plane between the non-physical, and the physical. So this is where we finally have our manifestation abilities to then put our ideas into action. It is a very action-associated chakra. An underactive solar plexus chakra, this leads to low self-esteem, very low confidence in oneself, low creativity, low energy levels, unhappiness with your life. This is also being easily manipulated by others, very influenced by others. This is also like really needing to seek out everyone else's opinion. If you're in a certain situation where you want advice from other people, this is needing the advice of others in order to make decisions for yourself. This is the inability to make decisions for yourself, being very indecisive. This is having any sort of digestion issues as well. This is also an underactive solar plexus chakra, is when we play the victim mentality and we place the blame always outside of us and take a victim role towards life, being very passive and then also blaming, setting the blame on other people. An overactive solar plexus chakra is when we become very dominating, when we become very harsh with our world. We could become very egotistical as well. It is associated with people that become narcissists, basically, as an overactive solar plexus chakra. It is where anxiety and stress is held. And so even in an underactive or overactive chakra, this is where we get anxiety and stress and fear from life, where we hold our nervousness as well, especially when it comes to expressing ourselves and taking action into things. When we get scared and we hold ourselves back from taking action. Overactive solar plexus people end up being very controlling. They're very controlling people. They're very arrogant. They're very competitive as well, overly competitive. This is also where we get very hyperactive people that can't seem to calm down as well. This is because like an overabundance of energy in this area. But a balanced solar plexus is someone that exudes confidence, but not in an egotistical way. They just have confidence. They have presence in the world. They're very here and now. They're not overly competitive. You have a healthy digestive system and good general health overall. You're able to be assertive but not domineering. This is also having intelligence, being able to make decisions on your own and for yourself, being decisive, knowing what you want, knowing oneself, knowing one's energy, knowing what's best for you, and also having an easygoing energy that can easily adapt to the environment that you're in. And so let's get into the associated diseases with this chakra. So the associated diseases is any digestive issues. This deals with stomach issues, stomach ulcers, acid reflux, any sort of like bad digestion where it deals with the pancreas. Heartburn, also food disorders such as like anorexia or bulimia are a solar plexus issue. Again, also a root chakra issue, but also comes up in the solar plexus because this is where we deal with our food and where we burn our food and digest it. It's also where we get diabetes, things like leaky gut syndrome, any sort of bowel issues as well is also slightly associated with the solar plexus as well as the root. It is also associated with fatigue, since we can sometimes get underactive amount of energy from a imbalanced solar plexus. And this is also the inability to excrete toxins from the body. So say you do have a night out drinking with your friends, if you're someone who easily gets really badly hungover from certain things, this is also another sacral chakra issue. Or if you get really bad indigestion, or it's hard for your body to deal with the presence of toxins in the body should those ever arise or happen. So the next chakra, the fourth chakra, is the heart chakra, which is Anahata. Its associated color is green. It's located right at the center of the chest or by your heart. The associated planet with this is Venus, the planet of love. The sense associated with this chakra is the sense of touch, which is associated with the skin. And the element of this chakra is air. The associated glands is the heart or the thymus. Its primary color is green and its secondary color is pink, although there is another chakra that is associated with the color pink. It's the upper heart chakra that is associated with pink, but sometimes also the secondary color of that chakra is also pink. So an underactive heart chakra deals with feelings of loneliness, feeling like you can't get over the past, unable to forgive the past, or unable to let go of the pain or guilt or anything associated with the past. This is having a lack of empathy, a lack of self-love, a lack of self-worth, a lack of love for other people. This is also associated to secluding yourself, not wanting to be out in the world. This is when we disassociate or cut our heart off to the world, cut our heart off to feeling empathetic towards, you know, the world or plants or animals or other people. An overactive heart chakra, this is when we tend to take advantage of others, when we tend to feel overly emotional about certain things. This is also when we tend to feel jealousy, or when we tend to be prone to codependency through other people. This is also when we have too much self-love, where we get a really big inflated ego, or when we become very self-centered. This is also an overactive one, is also when we tend to be very cliquey, and we stay in our own clique and don't associate with anything outside of that clique. So related dis-ease of the Anahata chakra, this is dis-ease anywhere in the chest area. So this deals with dis-ease of the heart problems, lung problems, upper back problems, problems with your shoulders. This also deals with problems down your arms as well, although there is also other chakras that go down there, but it is also associated with the heart as well. This is also breast problems, any breast cancer, things like that is associated with the heart chakra and imbalances in the heart chakra. This also deals with asthma, pneumonia, and also issues with the thymus, since that is one of its ruling glands. The next chakra is the fifth chakra, which is the throat chakra. This is known as Vishuddha. This chakra is associated with the color, any sort of light blue color. This chakra is also ruled by the planet Mercury, the planet of communication, of course, since it is the throat chakra. Its location is right in the throat. Its endocrine gland is the thyroid. It deals with the sense of hearing, and its element is ether, which is basically the combination of all elements and being able to sense the presence of energy. It's almost like the essence of something is the ether. So the throat chakra deals specifically with communication. It deals with being able to express ourselves in the world. So an underactive throat chakra is when we tend to be very shy, when we tend to withhold our truth, when we don't speak our truth, or we don't speak at all. Any sort of speaking issues kind of lie in the realm of an underactive throat chakra. An underactive thyroid is associated with the underactive throat chakra. Fear of speaking or inability to express your truth. This is also when we tend to over-articulate ourselves, when we tend to be overly analytical over the way that we're speaking or the way that we're presenting information, and we correct ourselves way too much. This is an underactive throat chakra. So an overactive throat chakra is when we get very loud, when we tend to be very dominating in conversation. It's also when we are we don't have an ability to listen. An overactive throat chakra is when you lose the ability to listen to others and you constantly have a need to be talking and expressing oneself. It is also associated with lying, being untruthful to situations. It is also associated with gossiping, talking bad about other people, and also stuttering as well is an overactive throat chakra. An overactive thyroid is associated with an overactive throat chakra. Being very compulsive, not being able to read the energy in the room or the energy of someone else is also an overactive and sometimes underactive throat chakra, when we're unable to pick up on the subtle social cues. For example, someone's subtle vocal influxes that will tell more of an underlying emotion behind something, not being able to read body language of people, since it is another way of communicating and expressing. So the inability to do that is again an underactive or overactive throat chakra. When the throat chakra is balanced, we're able to be very expressive, not very expressive, but we're able to be expressive. We're able to express our truth. We're able to express it freely. We're able to feel very good and balanced in conversation, where you're able to listen and speak equally with the people that you're with. Of course, I do want to say that sometimes it gets difficult when you're around people with an imbalanced throat chakra. Of course, then you have to adapt to that, but being able to still listen and speak your own truth and at least being aware of these things, because sometimes when we're around somebody who has an overactive throat chakra and we can't get in our words at all, you know, being able to just be aware of these things is being able to have a balanced throat chakra. This is also when people communicate consciously. They understand what they're communicating about. They don't usually get involved in gossip and things like that. And this is also when you have a social ease, when you're able to speak freely without feeling nervous or uncomfortable, which is one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're in a crowd of people, am I right? Many people that I know have this issue, so it's definitely an underactive throat chakra, or sometimes an overactive throat chakra as well, but mostly underactive throat chakra if you feel very nervous to speak in front of people sometimes. And that's something that I'm personally working on very hard. So let's get into some related dis-ease of the throat chakra. This deals with thyroid issues. This deals with speaking issues. Being deaf or mute is also associated with this, since it is also associated with the ears. I might not have mentioned, but the ruling gland is the, or not the gland, but the ruling sense is the ears and hearing for the throat chakra. So this does deal with being deaf or mute. Any asthma, bronchitis, chronic coughing. It can also come up when we have a sore throat. Generally speaking, lots of times that people get sore throats or get a cold like that, that affects the throat area. This is when we're not speaking our truth, when we have something to say and we're holding ourselves back. Usually this is when we develop coughs or sore throats and things like that, or it's associated with lying as well, being untruthful. Sore throat generally comes up around this time. This also deals with neck issues, ear infections of the throat or ears. This is also tinnitus, tonsillitis, anything that affects the throat area, also the neck as well. The neck area, if you have any neck pain, neck issues in this area, is all related dis-ease of the throat chakra, which is the Vishuddha chakra. The next chakra is the third eye chakra, which is the Ajna chakra. This one's located right between the brows or at the top of the spinal column. This one is associated with the colors violet and indigo. This one is associated with the glands, the pituitary and the pineal gland. Its ruling planet is Neptune. The ruling element is light. The sense of this chakra is the mind, although the mind is technically not a sense, but also kind of technically is. It is ruled by the mind. So this chakra deals with our psychic abilities. It deals with our ability to be a visionary, our ability to imagine, the way we see other people, the way that we see ourselves, and things like that. So the deficiencies of a third eye is when we view ourselves in a false way. So any bad view of yourself is associated with the imbalance of this chakra. And so an underactive third eye generally will have a false sense of self, a false sense of the world, being able to be easily deceived by others, having a lack of common sense, a lack of decision making, a lack of choice. Again, an imbalanced third eye is also associated, as well as the solar plexus, towards always needing the opinions of others in order to feel clarity ourselves. Of course, it's okay to always get opinions from other people if you feel like you want that, but to have to rely on that is an underactive third eye, because we're not able to perceive correctly, so we always need other people's opinions. It's usually when we're being deceived by others, we're stuck in a bad situation, we have lack of common sense, we can't get out of it. We're seeing things in a false light. We're over-fantasizing about certain things. This is also perception issues, sight issues, and it also deals with memory loss. And so an overactive third eye, this is when we get lost in fantasies. This is when we get very delusional over certain things. This is also when we end up, again, in toxic situations because we're overly delusional or overly fantasizing, creating a false reality. So when we know deep down inside that something is wrong for us, but we're creating this false belief that it is correct for us. For example, this happens a lot with toxic relationships, so I keep using that as an example because it's usually when we create deception or a false belief around the person that we're with and we're not seeing the truth behind the person that we're with or the situation that we're stuck in. This is also dealing with hallucinations, things going wrong with the mind. This also deals with obsessiveness, obsessive over certain things, and also can result in nightmares from an overactive third eye, delusions, self-centeredness, all that kind of stuff. And so When we get into the related dis-ease associated with the third eye, this is when we get dis-ease with hormonal imbalances, particularly since it is associated with the pineal gland that is associated with regulating certain hormones in the body, especially during puberty. And so this deals with self-development, growth issues, memory issues, hormonal imbalances and issues, puberty issues, things like this. This also deals with the inability to learn or having learning disabilities. Learning disabilities is associated with this, again, because the pineal is associated with the developmental stage of life and regulating those hormones. So any imbalances here will cause learning difficulties, possibly dyslexia. This also creates any eyesight problems. It can also be associated with deafness, and of course that also comes from the throat chakra as well, also from the third eye. Any sort of brain tumors, blindness, depression, insomnia, sleep issues, dizziness as well as headaches, mental fog, memory loss, these sort of things. So now moving on to our last chakra, the crown chakra. This is known as the Sahasrara chakra. This is located right above the head. Technically, some people believe that it is actually attached to the crown of our head. Many people also believe that it is located a few inches above the head. In my personal belief and understanding from the research that I've done, I personally believe that it is located above the head, but its entire energy does reach the top of the head as well, from my personal opinion on that matter. The associated colors of the chakra is white, gold, or violet. It does not have a ruling sense, and it does not have a ruling element either. The planet ruled by the chakra is Uranus for change, and the associated glands are the pineal and pituitary, just like the third eye chakra. Both kind of go hand in hand and play off of each other here. The crown chakra is associated with our attachment in the world, our belief system. An interesting fact about the crown chakra is that if there's any imbalance in any of the other lower chakras, the crown chakra is automatically imbalanced, and you cannot ever balance the crown chakra before any of the other chakras. Whereas the other chakras, you can have a balanced heart before you have a balanced root, for example, but with the crown chakra, that is one that cannot be balanced until all of the rest of them are in balance with each other. So getting into an underactive crown chakra, this leads to a lack of purpose in life, a lack of values, ethics, morals, a lack of joy or trust, loss of self-identity, loss of being connected to the world, loss of feeling connected or being empathetic towards other people. This is when we get overly obsessed with materialism in the material world. Since the crown chakra is the chakra that connects us to the spiritual world and connects us to all things, having an imbalanced or underactive seventh chakra, this deals with the overly being connected to the material world and overly connected to that, and the denial of a spiritual or energetic world. This is when we deny things like spirit, but of course also an overactive crown chakra. I do want to mention really quickly, an overactive crown chakra can also be associated with being overly obsessed with spirituality or religion. So there has to be a good balance for the crown chakra to be able to work. This is a balance between the material and the physical world. There's a lot of spiritual people out there that kind of talk about or associate spirituality with being just spiritual, but this is also another crown chakra imbalance, because the crown chakra is a balance between the material physical world and the spiritual world. It's the balance between both, and knowing that they're both connected and they both go hand in hand. Another sign of a lack of the crown chakra area or an underactive crown chakra is also ignoring your own bodily needs, ignoring your own body, disassociating with yourself, disassociating with your own body, disassociation with the world and the people that are around you, and seclusion. This is also when you have a very closed off mind, you're closed off to new information, you're closed off to anything else, and you won't accept anything else, also is an imbalanced crown chakra. An overactive crown chakra, this is when we gain a sense of self-entitlement where we feel better than anyone else. This is very egotistical, but we feel very above everyone. This is an overactive crown chakra. This also deals with obsessiveness over intellectual things, obsessiveness and almost living in the mind, living in the head. This is when we get very obsessed with knowledge, very obsessed with the material world, and needing to be very like just material and that's it. And again, disassociation from certain things. So when this chakra is in balance, this is when we feel very one and connected with the world. We feel very equal with our whole world, because it's when we get enlightened to the fact that we are all connected. We are all in perfect harmony with each other. There's reasons behind everything. This is acceptance of our world and knowing that everyone has their own purpose. This is when we kind of stop judging other people, when we feel and understand just so deeply for ourselves and in others, and we see, you know, the correlation and the relation between ourselves and others. And in that correlation, we then forgive and understand so much about the world. Therefore, we no longer see fault. And of course, we still have, you know, the ability to see the world for what it is, because the inability of that would be, you know, a imbalance in the third eye and falling into illusions. But we're just able to see the beauty and the love and connectedness in the world. Of course, you're still realistic to the point where you can see the dualistic nature of the earth and seeing right from wrong and having those morals in balance. But it's also when we see the beauty in this world and we understand so much, because we deeply know ourselves to the point where we associate so much internally, we know so much internally that we see and understand so much externally, and there's no longer judgment for these things. This is when we get a big sense of empathy, when we get you know, very in touch with other people and very empathetic. This is also when we're able to see the big picture of the world, where we're able to really see the entirety and not get lost in one's problems, not get lost in one's own vessel. We're able to really feel connected and see the real big picture around the world. This is also the ability to be present in the present moment and not always frantic, not always living in the past or living in the future. Lots of us tend to either live in our past or live in the future. When the crown chakra is balanced, we're very present to the moment, and we're not constantly worrying about what's happening over there or stuck in the pain of the past. So the dis-ease associated with the crown chakra is the muscle systems, the skeletal systems. This is also our mental mind, learning disabilities, skin problems, chronic exhaustion, migraines, since it is associated with the top of the head. This is definitely migraines. This is dizziness, also coordination challenges, brain tumors, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, kind of like losing your mind. What is that one called? Like schizophrenia, psychosis, neurosis, insomnia, sensitivity to light, sensitivity to the outside world. This is when we get sort of mental problems. It is also associated with whatever the one is when you're not wanting to leave your house or leave your environment because you feel so scared or fear of the outside world or from the environment and stuff like that. Of course, these are not all of the associated diseases related to each chakra, but these are just the basics and the main ones that are associated with these chakras. So of course there's lots more to this, and again, the purpose behind this is just to enlighten any of you guys towards these certain things so that we can then go into healing ourselves. With this awareness, having this awareness of what each chakra deals with and what a balanced chakra looks like, we're able to then realize where we have our imbalances and have the trajectory of moving towards balance and having the awareness of seeing what might be going wrong in us. Maybe you have a physical illness and you can associate it to one of these chakras or one of these areas. Maybe you have certain emotional things or physical symptoms of certain ones that might not be an actual dis-ease yet, but could be just an emotional thing that's coming up that you're connected to. And if you want to not get a physical symptom of this, again, just knowing and being aware towards going through the change and becoming balanced in these areas, then you'll get away, get away from the dis-ease, steer away from that, heal, and become balanced and at ease in your body. And with this ease, since our chakras are basically like a river that flow through our body, of course, when there's blockages and we don't have that energy flow, we feel more lethargic, we feel more lazy. So in order to or a side effect of having very balanced chakras is, again, feeling energetic, feeling very happy, feeling in a flow state, feeling like things are just abundant and happening and sprouting. And there's a sense of joy and fulfillment when these things are in balance. Of course, we all go through certain things in life. Life throws all these sorts of things at us. So if you feel like you're very out of balance at the moment, that is fine. I don't want any of you guys to feel ostracized or feel like you're living a bad life because things are out of balance. We all go through in and out of balance at certain moments. So this is just so that you're aware, and you can always bring yourself back to balance when you're feeling out of balance. So that is the purpose behind this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. One more thing that I will say, one thing that I want to share with you guys, this is something that I really love doing. This is a quick way to offer balance to your chakras, or rid yourself of emotional stagnation, or rid yourself of emotional buildup that can be in your chakras. Because of course, our chakras are like a river, and when things get built up, you know, there's gunk that might build up, emotional things that we're holding on to that kind of act as gunk and stop the river from flowing. So then we feel, you know, lazy, lethargic, we feel unhappy. This is where depression states come from. We feel less energetic. So having this flow and being able to bring back this flow, I'm going to teach you guys a trick. So a quick way to do this, and I do want to say, only ever do this on yourself unless you're really good at Reiki and you know how to protect yourself from someone else's energy. Otherwise, you can end up taking on the gunk that you're pulling out of someone. So let's get into this. So basically, you take your hand, you can take both of your hands if you want to, but you basically scan your body. You can go upwards or downwards, and you just go through your chakras. And if you ever feel a sense of heaviness or stuckness in a certain area, you basically grab that energy and you just shoo it out of you, and you just like pull it out technically. Don't ever shoo it on somebody else. Don't ever shoo it on a pet or anything like that. You'll want to clear that energy later, and a really good way to clear that is with sage and just saging, you know, your space, maybe even saging the outside of your body. And then once you're done pulling out this gunk, basically, essentially what I really like to do is imagine a white light waterfall coming in through the top of my head, through my crown chakra, rinsing through all of my chakras, rinsing through all of my body, taking any last gunk with it. And then also I imagine that white light filling up the rest of my body so that there's no empty space from pulling out the other things that were recently just pulled out of the body. So that is what I really love to do. And then I just fill that my body with white light, since the white light is the combination of all colors. They'll just do what they have to do in those specific chakras. And so that is my quick little trick for cleansing out your chakras. So you can share it with other people if you want to. If you guys know Reiki and you know how to protect your energy, of course you can always do that on other people. You probably already know how to do that if you know Reiki. But if you do not, again, I would recommend just using that on yourself for now, until you learn how to protect your energy when dealing or doing Reiki on other people. So that is all that I have for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. That is all about chakras. I hope you guys learned something today. There will be many more videos on chakras. Again, check out that book by Cindy Dale. It's the complete book of chakras. It's really, really good. Highly recommend it for you guys. And I'm hoping you guys have a lovely, amazing week, amazing month, an amazing year. Love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.